What's going on, everybody? It's about a week before the Chuckwalla event for the TRD series round 2, and I figured I'd put out one more video before that, so I'm going to do a rundown of all the mods that are on the Yaris. So down here at the front we have the oil cooler from Nonstop Tuning, 19-row oil cooler with an oil filter relocation kit. The lines on this are still a little long, and the adapters that were needed to get to the bottom there are a little much, so we might clean this up one day, but that is one of the most recent pieces that has gone on the car. We also have pulleys from Nonstop Tuning. They're lightweight pulleys. The alternator pulley and the water pump pulley don't make that much of a difference, but the crank pulley is definitely helping with those parasitic losses. We've also got the 1ZZ throttle body that went on in a very recent video, and the InGen cold air intake. That's been on the car for a while. It sounds great. I love it. And the adapter between the two is from Mishimoto. There's also a DC Sports strut bar up here, which does get in the way of the battery a little bit, but it's definitely helping with stiffening out the front of the car. Hidden down in there is an ACT clutch kit that I put on when we changed this car from automatic to manual. It's definitely overkill for the power that this car is making, but we needed a new clutch kit, and that one has very nice pedal feel. These headlights are also not factory. They are Spec D headlights. That'll make the car go faster, but they kind of look cool. So, up at the front here we have Koenig Helium 6.5, 15 by 6.5 wheels with Toyo R1R tires. They are one of the first things that we put on the car when we first started modding it. So honestly, kind of aware of better tires and better wheels now. So we might change them out soon. Brakes wise, we've got Stop Tech drilled rotors and Hawk HPS Plus pads. Suspension wise, we have Teen Street Advanced Z coilovers, the cheapest coilovers from Teen that we could possibly get when we started this. Again, one of the first things we put on. I know a lot more about suspension now than I did then, so I could see those going sometime soon, but it is, part of the learning process to kind of feel what's wrong with these and not just go on the recommendation of what's best, because now I know what the difference is. I think that's going to be part of the growing process, honestly. Some of the stuff that you wouldn't notice up here is the fact that we have white line lower control arm bushings, which are stiffening out this a little bit. We have all the shrouding taken off in here, so you can actually see the cold air intake, which is not great if we are, spraying up anything off of the wheels, but I'm not taking this car out when it's even remotely wet, so I think we're okay. Unless somebody in the comments tells me that I'm not, then I'll probably change it or fix it. So inside the car, there's quite a few things. We've got these NRG seats mounted on planted brackets. We have an NRG steering wheel. We have this 10,000 RPM tachometer. I think we were being a little optimistic. Really, we were just converting the car over from automatic to manual, and we needed a tacho. And that seemed like one of the easiest ones to install. We didn't even look at the numbers. So it revs to like 6,500. We've also got this InGen throttle controller, which we had when we were automatic and doing autocross, and I've actually unplugged it since we've been manual because it just makes the first gear too jittery, especially kind of moving around a paddock and stuff. And honestly, when you're wide open throttle all the time, it doesn't really feel like it's doing anything. Seems like it might be great for a daily driver. I might pull it off, sell it. One of you guys can have it. If you've got a Yaris, let me know. Let me know if you want it. A while back we installed the AEM gauges over here, the oil temp, oil pressure, and voltage gauges. I'm still having a little bit of wiring issues with voltage gauge. It just sometimes on the freeway likes to disconnect, and then we don't have voltage for the drive, but that's okay because everything being on tells me that we've got power. So also from Nonstop Tuning, we have one of the very first Yaris short throw shifters that they ever made. They were telling us that it was coming out when we were doing the manual swap, and I don't think we actually put this in first. We put in a regular manual, but we were waiting on getting this shifter. And then we finally did, and it became kind of one of the very first times it was ever used in a car that never thought it was gonna be a manual, let alone have a short throw shifter. But really the main mod and the thing that makes this anything close to being a race car is the fact that it's got most of the interior out. Took out the rear seats, took out any of the paneling back here, took out the spare tire and all that. Just a matter of trying to save as much weight as possible. It's made the car a little front heavy, and that's one of the things that we're balancing out with. Honestly, anytime this kind of car is used for B-spec or H-production racing, you have a full roll cage, which adds a lot of weight to the back and balances this car back out again. I've also got an HKS axle back, which just went on recently, and there's a tow hitch back here as well. So that's everything that's on the car, but you know, if the interior shows you anything, it's about what's not on the car. And one of the things that we pulled early on was the AC compressor. The idea was that it would be less parasitic losses from the crank pulley, but also a little less weight up front if we could get that whole system out. And it makes it a pain to go to the track, but it, you know, we're not gonna go in the heat of summer, hopefully anyway. And it's especially harder because the windows don't roll up and down. We broke one of the windows early on when working on this, and replaced it with like a cutout piece of Lexan, because race cars have Lexan, right? In hindsight, we probably just should have done the fix better. But the Lexan windows are kind of funny. I roll them down or pull them out on the track now. And if I wasn't worried that it might rain one day on the way to the track, which I guess I'd have to pull over because of the cold air intake anyway, I could probably just run them windows down all the time because I have to take them out all the time anyway. What else? Oh, there's also this Megan Racing C-pillar bar. I don't know if it's doing anything, but it should stiffen up a little bit. It's also not a bad place to mount a camera, which I think is kind of funny. But it also fits an Acura RSX. So I might get rid of it. If anybody's got an Acura RSX, want to hit me up and get that bar, yeah, you're more than welcome to it. So that's everything that's on my car. Hopefully that gives you a better idea of what this thing is when it goes to track. And if you are looking into getting into track or autocross, you can do this with your daily driver or the car you don't need anymore, or buy a cheap manual Yaris. You don't have to do the auto to manual trans swap like I did. If you were gonna go to the track with pretty much any car, wheels, tires, brakes. That's what you need to go to the track. I'd argue that you don't even really need that to go to autocross and have fun. Regular OEM brakes are not designed to stand up to the heat of constant use on track. That's why you need track pads, brake fluid. Track pads and brake fluid is probably the most important thing. Tires are going to make any car fun. You get some 200 treadwear tires on a car, and it will be so much more fun. You'll feel like you're learning. You'll feel like, you know, you're learning where the grip is and isn't. The very first time we took this to autocross, we took it for the first half of the day with the regular tires on steel wheels, and then we switched to these for the second half of the day, and it was a night and day difference, to the point where that first half of the day just felt unsafe and unstable, and it just wasn't fun. Putting these tires on immediately made a difference. You immediately felt like you were learning and feeling out the track. Yes, it might have been a little bit of a handicap when it comes to learning. You could argue that you know, the tires were kind of covering up some mistakes, but honestly, you want to go out there and have fun, right? So you have to find that balance between having fun and learning. That's all for this video. I'm pretty much set to go to Chuckwalla for round 2 of the TRD series. All that I'm doing before we get there is an alignment and we should be good to go. So I'll see you next video at Chuckwalla, because I am absolutely, definitely making another video.